right? As we always say. Well, man, let's get all the Facebook folks in here. So we're officially going. Man, how many Facebook groups we got? 1, 2, 3. That's good. We want to have all our Facebook peeps in here, the metaverse, if you will. Welcome in, everybody. It is Tuesday morning, November 16th, which means it is time for another episode of Broncos for Breakfast. And I am joined by, as always, my good friend and co-host, Scott Kennedy. Scott, how you doing? Happy week 11. We got here.
Yeah, it's going fast, isn't it? It feels like we're still trying to get people healthy and get things right, and ups and downs, and all of a sudden it's week 11, and I don't know. I was thinking about it as we're getting ready for the show, and it almost feels to me like with a 17 game season, it almost feels more like baseball, kind of. Where you take a little bit of the onus off of each game week to week, and there's going to be some strange outcomes, and every once in a while, guys kind of just check out. Maybe this was the checkout week because there were some crazy scores this last week, not just Denver Broncos, but across the league.
Yeah, no, really. I mean, it has been a week-to-week league all year. I don't know if it's coming the first normal offseason coming off of what's going on in the world. Is it the shortened practice time? I don't know. But week to week, I mean, I don't trust any of these teams. You have the the Bills 1 week losing 6-9 to the Jags, and the next week putting 200,000 points on the Jets. The Mike White experiment comes to a screeching halt. So it's a crazy football week, but that's why we love it. And that's good for the Broncos. It means they're right still in the thick of things. I mean, just on paper, we'll see how it plays out. But, if the defense catches fire, and things can happen. But we got Tony in the house, but talking about some still believing in the Broncos with the hearts. Tony also brought it up to Scott here about the Von Miller in the thumbnail. Hopefully that'll get on the move on here. But Von is still a Bronco in our hearts, despite him getting tattooed last night by Iowa Hawkeye great George Kittle in the run game. But, that's going to happen. George will do that to some kids. U.S. Dave's in here, seeing even tougher to see Teddy in the picture. Teddy faced the music yesterday, and we'll be getting into that. Jay's in the house, says, good morning, everyone. Jay's hating on the picture, too. Jay, it hurts. That hurts. Greetings from Alberta. Dang windy and cold up here. My cousin works in Alberta in the summertime. He is a meteorologist. Beautiful country up there. Need to get back up to Banff and Jasper. Dave's in the house. Thank you. Good to see you, Dave.
Appreciate the stars on Facebook, Dave. So Dave's double dipping for us, hitting the like on both sides. Only 2 likes on Facebook so far. I see 20 of you in here. I'm going to hit that like button right now. There's mine. Yeah. Okay, so hit that like button. There's it as you're ramping up here.
Yeah, and Jay says, Nick feels more like the brother that screws with you. I definitely have my dad's energy. I don't know if you've seen those Geico commercials where they have the people that are turning into their parents. I need to go to that therapy because I can't stop talking about the weather and just that kind of thing. It's happening. Dave with the stars. Thank you so much, Dave.
Brilliant campaign. I hope they don't overdo it.
Yeah, I agree.
Because I still enjoy them, but it's and Geico does a pretty good job about moving, changing up their different campaigns. So hopefully they won't ruin that one.
Yeah, no, that one unfortunately hits too close to home. We had Tommy Simmers in the house saying I had to take a safety break from MHH following the Eagles game. Tommy, I do not blame you. And he also says I feel safe now. Well, let's get you back in the danger zone here tonight. This morning we got Juan Gonzalez. Good morning, boys. Question for you both now. What would be your top prospects to draft for the Broncos? Oh man, Juan, you opened up a can of worms there for me. Right now, the Broncos, I think, have the 14th overall pick in the draft. Obviously, we have a long way to go. The Broncos could end up with a top 10 pick. They could end up still making the playoffs. I mean, that's what you get when you're 5-5 and only 1 game out of the division, or half a game out of the division.
I think I just read a tweet or something that said there's only 5 teams that are more than 1 game out of a playoff spot right now. Man, that's the NFL's dream. Let's see if we can make everybody mediocre and
parity,
give everybody a chance, even though you just dumb down the product to the lowest common denominator so that everybody's playing crappy football. But hey, everybody's got a chance. Not for me, man. But it's the everybody finishing around 500 is the NFL's dream.
Yeah, no, you're totally correct there. It's, however, parity, and also this really leans into my theory of just get in. If you just get into the playoffs, anything can happen. And I don't know if there's a buzzsaw team this year. I have a sneaking suspicion that the Kansas City Chiefs are about to go white hot and make a run to the playoffs, and nobody will want to play them just because we've seen the Chiefs host the AFC Championship game 3 years in a row, right? Patrick Mahomes is not this bad. He's going to regress upwards towards his normal, but it's going to be a weird season, and I'm really excited to see what the second half look like. As far as top prospects for the Broncos, they're doing a lot of work on quarterbacks. They visited Matt Corral versus Malik Willis then 1 week, and the next week you saw Sam Howell versus Kenny Pickett. I'm having a real hard time with this quarterback class. I want to fall in love, but I used the analogy earlier, and everybody around you getting married. You don't want to make a mistake and get married when it's the wrong person. So right now, I'm not leaning into any of these quarterbacks. I really love the edge in the defensive, offensive tackle class, and picking 10 to 20. I think there's going to be a really good offensive tackle prospect available to you. And that seems to be the identity of this team. It's working really well for the Patriots with Mac Jones. Everybody in the NFL seems to be going to this Big 12, Pac-12, 11 personnel air raid. How about we just beat the absolute bleep out of teams with the trenches and get a really good offensive line going or defensive line and, win games that way? I think that would be not everybody has a franchise quarterback. If you don't, the best way to win is dominance in the trenches. And I think you can build that.
On the surface, I like Malik Willis and Sam Howell, but I haven't dug into them nearly deep enough to say, yeah, I'd be willing to spend $15 million on those guys, which is what they have to do. So just from a high level, I like those two quarterbacks, and you need a quarterback. You need a quarterback of the future. Again, y'all have heard me say it a zillion times, but taking the wrong guy can cripple you, especially at that position. So be sure about it. Be sure about it this time. If you're going to go in the first round, be sure. If you weren't sure about Justin Fields or Mac Jones, then you got Patrick Surtain. Good pick. You're going to be a better team on the long run because of that. Don't get a guy you're not sure about.
Yeah, nope, totally. However, I don't want them to take trade up for a guy that they think of lesser than Mac Jones and Justin Fields when both of them were staring you in the face when you didn't have to give up anything to get them. So here we are. We got Howler asking why I like Corral despite his gimmicky offense. I learned about scouting the player and what they can do versus the situation they're in with Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert was throwing bubble screen and tunnel screen after bubble screen and tunnel screen. He had the traits, had the accuracy, but he wasn't asked to do it because he was playing a gimmicky offense with wide set tackles there in Oregon. He comes to the NFL and he breaks rookie passing records. While Corral's offense is gimmicky, and I'm not saying he is Justin Herbert, he has ample arm talent. It's not incredible arm talent, but it's enough. And he's a good athlete. He's very twitched up, which I appreciate that's what I want from athleticism from the quarterback position. I like Corral a good bit. First round grade, maybe. As far as strong, I like the accuracy. I like the arm talent. His knee apparently is very concerning, like detrimental or degenerative knee kind of discussions around Carson Strong. So we'll see on that one. Travis is in the house, probably stars, saying good morning, Nick and Scott in Broncos country. At work, just want to wish you guys a good show and have a great day. And I know Travis will listen after the facts. We appreciate all you live streamers out there. But we're going to always be there for people who have things going on. I tend to listen to a lot of these after the fact too, because I'm busy. I'm cooking or doing something like that. So make sure you're doing that. CC saying nothing better than a morning pod. DBA saying good morning, y'all. We got Zach Phillips in the house. Morning, boys. Thank you. And Clee in the house. Broncos are gearing up for their Super Bowl run. Sunday was just a walkthrough. Love it. I mean, gosh, it could happen, right? You're saying there's a chance. Scott's not buying it. Scott's out. Scott, why are you out? Well, before we'll get through the reads, what's your? We said it this morning. We jumped in here and like Broncos 5-5. Every single team seems to have a good week and a bad week. If you just get in, anything can happen. And this AFC West right now is, while they're talented, I think they're a little soft. I think they're a little doughy in the middle. They're only working on their glamour muscles. So I think the Broncos could maybe go on a run. You're muted. I can't hear you, Scott. You're muted. You guys hear Scott? Blink twice, Scott, if you're okay. Okay, well, I could not hear Scott on that one, and the chat is not telling me if he's going on. It could have been an issue with the pod stream itself, but I'll get into the rundown while Scott's looking at what's going on here.
No, that was me. I hit mute again because you said you were getting feedback because I've moved my mic closer.
Yep.
I think StreamYard actually has adjusted some of the levels, so that changed up. But what I said was, I don't think this team wants to play for Vic Fangio, and you can't go on a playoff run and win playoff games and do all that stuff when you're just running out of ground ball, waiting for the new guy to come in. He's a dead man walking. Yeah. We thought it anyway. Draymond Jones pretty much said as much the next day and then doubled down on his sarcastic apology. Draymond Jones being in full bill of health kind of thing. It's comical. This team doesn't want to play for Fangio. So, in my opinion, there is no chance.
Yeah.
You're not talking about, again, you're not talking about a 6-4 Kansas City Chiefs playing for Andy Reid. You're talking about a team that lost 4 in a row, follows up a what looks now like a fluke win with getting beat again badly in the trenches. Forget the fact that you're not good enough on the lines of scrimmage right now.
You're not.
And that to me is number one. It's like, well, I got a crappy refrigerator or a crappy Bridgewater at this point. Well, it doesn't matter if you got no power, you can't plug it in. And if you're bad in the lines of scrimmage, it doesn't matter what else is happening. If you don't believe in your coach, it doesn't matter what else is happening. This team isn't built for a playoff run right now.
Yeah. Man, every single team has a lot of flaws right now, but the best things that get into the playoffs are teams that have really good trenches. The Broncos aren't doing that right now. I mean, their edge rusher, besides the Cleveland game, this was the worst showing from the edge rushers the entire season. Malik Reed, I don't know. I saw people showing a lot of clips of Lane Johnson in the run game, and that looked like it reminded me of a Dirty Dancing, except unfortunately, Malik Reed was the girl in the situation where being lifted up above the head and spun around. God, Malik Reed.
Lift.
It was Malik Reed got he looked like an 8th grader out there versus a grown man. In the run game, especially, it was bad. And Curtis Robinson, we talked about it yesterday. God bless you, Curtis Robinson. I feel bad for you even having to be out there because you shouldn't be in that situation. I feel that way a little bit with the 4th string tackle as well in Cam Fleming, but that's football, right? That's why, like, when you look at the roster and people freak out about, like, oh man, if we just had this one linebacker, our depth chart would be set. You're going to be out half those guys at some point this season. So you need to have guys on guys on guys at value positions. Otherwise, it's going to be the straw that breaks the camel's back.
Clee may be more sarcastic than me, and that's saying something.
Scott's just mad Denver beat the Cowboys.
Just mad Denver beat the Cowboys and Atlanta got stomped by them. Super Bowl, here we come. You're right. I'm in. Forget we could break down all the flaws with this team. Why I think it's going to be tough to go for a run, and we can.
Yep.
Because we can start looking at that towards the future. Because one of the questions when you hit a low point like this is, how does it get better? How does it get better? There's a lot of good pieces to this team. That hasn't changed. But this team is too flawed right now, especially on the lines of scrimmage, to make a serious run.
Mm-hmm.
And even if you were able to, let's say, eke out a winning record the rest of the way, finish 9-8, eke into a playoff spot, this team, again, they don't want to play for Fangio. You can't convince me otherwise right now.
Yeah, no, there seems to be some disconnect there. And I know that typically, teams have their positional coaches that are with those guys way more often in the meeting rooms and whatnot. But like the positional coaches are doing the talks before the game, apparently, reportedly, allegedly. And that's an issue. So I just think there's a massive emotional disconnect. And for a game like football, which is as emotionally charged as any game we have, honestly, because you're asking these guys to do unnatural things and put their bodies in positions where there's something in your brain saying, what are you doing? This is danger. You're going to get yourself hurt. If you don't have buy-in from the coach. And I know that's probably more important for college and high school and whatnot, when it's more of an emotionally charged game versus the professionals out there, but still it's an emotional game. So
no, I think it's actually the emotion plays a bigger factor in the NFL than in other leagues because the level of talent is so close. In college and in high school, bigger, faster, stronger is going to win. It's going to take over most of the time. I'm exaggerating here to a certain extent, but the bigger, faster, stronger team is going to beat the team that's not as big, fast, and strong. You get more of a disparity like that at the lower levels. In pros, it's closer for the most part. Again, they do everything they can to aid the weak and the people with no initiative or ambition, and punish the ones that have success in order to bring everybody to a mediocre level of football.
So everybody will watch every game because every game matters all season, right? And there's not going to be empty seats.
Or you can be like I had been the past few years, which was don't tune into the playoffs because they're just kind of going through the motions.
Oh, don't do that to me, Scott. I love the playoffs. We got DBA asking if I was doing always
the playoffs, and then it matters.
Oh,
yeah, because
I just love it.
And with a 17-game season, like I said, I think that's a lot of football. I don't remember seeing a week, and I'm sure they're out there. There's enough weeks in a season where I remember seeing this many blowouts.
It really is.
You might see a 43-3 once in a year, maybe, let alone 3 or 4 of them in one weekend. That's crazy.
This was a crazy week of football, no doubt. And it's been a pretty crazy season. But cream rises to the top. You hope so. It's been a really high variance league, right? Like you don't know who's going to show up week to week.
No, and if I think you're dead on with the Kansas City Chiefs, they're like, all right, we don't have to turn it on yet. We'll just hang around, go on a 4-game winning streak at the end of the season and clinch the division, get a bye.
Yep.
As long as we're 4-0, it doesn't matter if we're 6-6, as long as we finish 5-0.
Yep.
And then we're in at 11-6.
Yep. And it wasn't Always Sunny reference, DBA. Good catch. Love Always Sunny. The DW, I don't love that it was sunny in Philadelphia this weekend, though. But anyway, the DWI guys, morning gents, agreed, not playing for coaches. It's going to get uglier. I don't know if it's going to get uglier. These guys are professionals, and, you have the Raiders who are up and down coming up. You have the Lions. You do have some games that you have a chance in, no doubt. The Bengals, talk about a week-to-week team, beating the Ravens, looking great, then getting beat by the Jets a week later. That shows where this league is right now. But I think that you have enough talent on your roster and enough guys on 1-year contracts as well, that it's not going to get ugly, so to speak, unless you're talking like the Broncos lose a close game. They're out of the playoffs. Something happens with Fangio time management wise, and the players really start to stop biting their tongues, I guess, so to speak. There's more Draymond Jones post-game press conference slip kind of things.
And Ethan, appreciate you, the support that you've had. You're still number one halfway through the month, number one on the YouTube rankings that we show in the evening. So appreciate all the support you've given our show, for sure. And before I was saying thank you, I had a point I was going to make, and now I've forgotten it because, that happens.
That works. Coffee's still kicking in, and I think I was about to do the reads, but I haven't even done them yet because when your mic was muted, that sent me in a tizzy. So, guys, this is obviously Broncos for Breakfast. We're here every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday morning. We'll be here again next week, every Monday, Tuesday, and Thursday as well. I know it's the bye week and whatnot, but maybe we'll do like a half-hour show or something if there's not as much news. But hope maybe we'll get into some draft stuff or contract stuff, or there's always news. You can follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. Also follow Scott and myself. Scott is at Scout Kennedy and myself at Kendell MHH. Make sure you're joining us on Facebook at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. And if you're on YouTube today, please subscribe, like, and share. And go to Scott's channel as well at youtube.com/C/Scott Kennedy. So, Scott, we wanted to get into the meat of today's show was Teddy's press conference yesterday. Mm-hmm. I know there was a lot made about, I saw people like, how do you know Teddy wasn't specifically instructed to not make that tackle? Or can you blame him given the injuries he's had? Yesterday, I don't want to say Teddy fell on the sword because that says that, he took blame for stuff that wasn't exactly his fault. Mm-hmm. And granted, I guess that's true to an extent. If Melvin Gordon doesn't fumble the ball after picking up the 4th and 1, we never have this conversation. Heck, maybe even the Broncos win that game. I mean, they're one touchdown down and in the red zone. Anything could happen.
Matter. It's the ultimate team sport.
You're right.
It is. Guys make mistakes. Guys cover for each other. Melvin Gordon fumbled. That's on him. But you expect somebody to have your back also. And that's what my point that I was going to make was from Ethan's about it being uglier. I think this is ugly as it's going to get, honestly. Maybe not, you could go on a losing streak, but combine the fact with expectations being raised high again. They've given us hope. It's the hope that kills, right? Mm-hmm. Expectations being high again coming off of that win. All the chest thumping from Fangio coming out of the Broncos win. And then to go out and get beaten fairly handily by a mid-level at best Philadelphia Eagles team. And then watch your quarterback give up on a pivotal play. As far as anger and ugliness goes right now, I think this is the peak. This is the boiling point. I don't think it'll get much nastier from Broncos fans than it has been the last 48 hours.
I don't think it's going to get much nastier is because the expectations aren't going to be as high. You have the bye week coming. It's going to start to get colder here, and there's not a lot of belief in this team. There was maybe a hint of belief after beating Dallas and, prove it to me. We're coming home. And then apparently that game, credit to Eagles fans in the Denver area. There's a lot of Eagles fans there, and their team gave them a reason to stick around and cheer at the end. And Broncos fans are looking for the exit, which is unfortunate. But, that's again, it's a week-to-week league. The Broncos are 5-5. They have 7 games left, 5 remaining against the AFC West, where you're only half a game out. Like, it could happen. Like, it could. I would bet the Broncos to finish last or second to last right now as a betting
9 and
man,
8 in
but
a playoff
right there.
spot is Fangio back next year.
What was that?
9 and 8, eke
Yep.
into a playoff, the 7th playoff spot, because they just keep making it more playoff teams. More playoff
Yep.
teams is more excitement.
Yep.
So you get a 9 and 8 team that goes into the playoffs as Fangio back next year.
Ooh, it would really depend on what the pulse of the locker room is. I mean, I know that it's a bottom line business out here, but if it's one of those things where you got in because the guys around you were struggling or you made it in spite of the head coach, I think you still have to look at it. Now, that being said, you have to go on a pretty good run here, the final 7 games. You're talking probably finishing 5-2. 4-3, 5-2 probably gets you into the playoffs because you probably need to finish with double-digit wins. Finishing 5-2 against 5 games of the AFC West.
I didn't say
That's
5-2.
I know, but you're talking about getting in the playoffs. I think you probably
I
need
said
10
if you
wins.
finish 9 and 8 and get into the
Oh,
playoffs.
9-8. Oh man, I think. Can I
Because
throw out?
again, there's a 7th playoff spot. They just keep making it's not quite NCAA basketball where they call it
Everyone's
March
in.
Madness. I
You
call
get
it
a seed.
who gives a damn until March.
Yeah.
It's not quite that bad, but it's getting close.
Mhm.
You finish 500 and you're in the tournament. So I don't think that's enough. You go 9 and 8 now. Maybe you go on a little run. You win a couple games in the playoffs, maybe.
Yeah.
But 9 and 8, 7th playoff spot. I think Fangio's still gone. Lawrence, appreciate the stars on here too. Says I miss my Broncos getting a playoff spot by December. And getting back to the point about Teddy yesterday, acknowledging the fact that it was a bad look. Thanks, Teddy. Go have a seat. Go have a seat on the bench. You're gonna at the worst for the first half. At worst, you cannot. I said yesterday he's got to have some damage control, some huge damage control in that locker room to have any support at all amongst his teammates. What do you think Melvin Gordon's going to say? Melvin Gordon feels awful about another fumble, and like I said, that's on him. But dude, it didn't have to cost us the game. All you had to do was throw a shoulder at somebody, knock them off, do something instead of pull up. That's a unifying moment with Broncos country, because there is no this guy's better than that guy. When we get pissed off as fans is when we see a lack of effort, because we know how special and what a privilege it is to play football at a level like that, not only just to get paid, but anybody that enjoyed playing the game. Most of us were done after our senior years in high school, done.
Mm-hmm.
So to see somebody that's got that privilege to go out there and play and get paid more than any of us will ever make to do it, and to just totally quit on a play that was a pivotal play, it's unacceptable. It is absolutely unacceptable. And you know me, I'm a Teddy Bridgewater fan. Huge fan of the person, the person that he is. And I would say, thanks, Teddy. You're going to sit this one out. You're going to sit this one out. Minimum. Drew, you're up.
Yep. I think if I was George Payton, I would be saying Drew Lock needs to play right now, unless it lost me to the locker room, and unless I thought that the optics of coming down and telling my coach that they need to play that guy would result in the position being less wanted in the offseason. Those are two factors that I can't speak for. But we see what Teddy Bridgewater is, and Teddy Bridgewater with the level of play, I mean, he's still a top. I mean, given statistics, I know. Stats. I filtered for garbage time.
He's a mid-range quarterback. He's middle of the pack.
Right now, he's ranked number 12 in the NFL so far this season in CPOE and EPA composite. Some of that is feeding on lesser teams, but again, middle of the pack, and that's better than you've had for half a decade. And if you had elite defense, let's not even say elite defense, top 10 defense with that level of quarterback play, you get in the playoffs this year. Broncos this year, bottom 10 defense by DVOA. I don't give a hoot what the points per game is, because there's efficiency metrics, there's how many possessions per game you're giving up, and it's a complementary football. They're giving up points at a crazy rate per possession, and it's just not been good enough for the whole reason you have Fangio in here is elite defense, right? I mean, he's not connecting to the players. He's not, they have this holistic view. It's like, okay, with Fangio, we're guaranteed a good defense. Your defense is bad. It's not only average, it's bad. So,
and you can't even blame, I watched the get your mugs, everybody.
Prost.
I watched the Atlanta Falcons hire 2 defensive coordinators as their head coaches, Mike Smith and Dan Quinn, and then completely not back them as far as personnel goes. And then it's like, okay, well, the scheme's enough. We're going to put all of our resources into offense. You can't even say that with this team. They've poured a ton of resources onto the defensive side of the ball.
A lot. Number one paid defense in football this year. And I would say every single side, maybe besides the off-ball linebackers, because it's hard to get too mad at them considering how many injuries they've had, but every single one of them has been a disappointment and not lived up to expectations. And this isn't more of an off-season question, but I always feel like these coaches get these spots and these head coaching spots, and then their teams pour crazy resources in their side of the ball. I think if I was the general manager, I'm like, I'm going to go the opposite. I'm going to put all the resources.
That's what Dimitrov did. Like I said, that's what they did with the Falcons, and I don't think you can do that. You've got to have balance across both teams. But getting back to it, because I do want to stick up for the offensive line just a little bit as we hit Jay's comment here. Appreciate the super chat, Jay.
Yeah, thanks, Jay.
I know we're all Broncos fans, but it doesn't seem like our team wants to play. We got manhandled. It honestly seems they don't care. Yeah. I'm willing to give the benefit of the doubt a little bit to the offensive line when you've got 3 new starters, the guys that were backups coming in against, frankly, and I'd forgotten the Browns, but going into this game, I said, this is the best trenches team that you're going to face. That defensive line, when they're on for the Eagles, is flat out freaking scary. They're really, really good. So I'm not okay with that, but I understand, try and hold your own at least. But, who goes in with 3 backup offensive linemen and dominates the Philadelphia Eagles in the trenches? Nobody. That doesn't happen. Okay, I get that. For me, it's the defensive side of the ball, the front 3. Draymond Jones played okay. Shelby Harris was missing in action, and I'm not even sure who was starting at nose guard. I saw some Purcell, but, I'm not even sure on that one. You lost your 2 edge guys in Von Miller and Bradley Chubb from the beginning of the season, but it's that front 3 that is what in the summer we talked about. Are they going to be good enough? Well, right now they're not. They're not, and they got dominated in the trenches big time.
They absolutely did. They got whipped in the trenches on both sides of the ball, and I thought that the biggest disadvantage the Broncos had in this game was on the edges in the trenches. The Eagles' tackles absolutely beat the living hell out of the Broncos' edge rushers and climbing to the second level to get to the linebackers, and the Broncos' tackles were beat up to the point where I think it changed completely what the Broncos were calling offensively. A lot of people are upset at Teddy Bridgewater with the lack of throwing it down the field. A lot of that was I guess it was Shula, and this offense didn't trust their tackles for bleep. And they wanted to get the ball out quickly. So, and until you were forced to play more of a drop back game because the defense couldn't keep the other team from scoring. But, this was a complete team loss, which is, I guess, satisfying in a way because you don't have to pile on one person. But it's also frustrating because there's not an easy fix, right? It's just like
it's so easy to say, oh, quarterback or coach. Okay, if I fix this one problem, maybe 2 problems, everything's going to get better. And maybe it does. Again, it's a whole lot easier to change the coach than it is to change a 53-man roster. And there's no reason to change a 53-man roster. You've got to get some better luck with injuries for sure. Yeah. But then some of the guys that you're paying good money to have to play a little better too. And part of it, and this is where I said at the beginning, part of it's you can't convince me these guys want to play for Fangio. They're just I'm going to use a baseball reference again. They're running out the ground ball. They're doing their jobs right now. Yep. As far as we're going out, we're here. What are you doing? What did I translate when Draymond Jones is Draymond Jones being a full sound and mind and body tweet out there? My translation for that was, it's okay that you call us out, but not okay for us to say that coaching was a problem. That's what I read. That's what I read him say. And it is. It's hypocritical. And there's a phrase I've used for years. I don't mind an a-hole. I can't stand a freaking hypocrite. With a jerk, you know what you've got. A hypocrite, those are the people I don't have time for.
Yep. Nope. Absolutely correct. Now, Draymond, blink twice if you're okay. We got Jay coming back in saying tiny bright spot would be Quinn played well, and he was responsible for the touchdown run, sealing off that block. Always keep up the good work, guys. Yeah, Quinn Miners, his pass blocking is still very much a work in progress. That was always going to be the case, but he is an athlete and he has strength. And he also, and I know some analytics people roll their eyes at this, but he is a tone setter on that line as well. He's somebody who, if a linebacker sees him coming or you are being stood up, at the point of attack, he's coming to get a push in there. And those type of plays, they matter in the long course of the game. So it looks like the Broncos got a good one there in the interior offensive line, and Quinn Miners probably spells the end of Graham Glasgow's time in Denver. Probably that was true regardless of the injury, but now with Miners getting the reps and with how he is showing, that's probably even more true. The real question will be, are they going to put Miners at center? Because I know he had some center reps there, or is he going to be sticking at that right guard spot? It'll be interesting. Shane coming in here saying Albright put out some interesting stats the past couple of days concerning Bridgewater. He has the most time to throw for any quarterback, but has the third highest sack rate. Looks like the O-line may be less of an issue than some people believe. Every single sack has its own story. Teddy Bridgewater, no doubt, holds onto the ball longer than a lot of quarterbacks, but also part of the reason that he has the time to throw is that he moves around in the pocket and buys himself time. He is pretty good at staying in that bubble, sliding in the pocket to avoid that first rusher. Let's say the left tackle gets beat. Teddy's going to slide up forward to the right, and that buys him, an extra half second. The issue is that the Teddy holding onto the ball, sometimes it results in sacks, which are more on him than the offensive line. And this offense is not good enough to be second and 10 plus consistently to dig out of that hole. And the other issue is it's not creating enough explosive plays down the field. Teddy's hanging onto the ball and it's still, 5-yard curl route kind of thing. So the offensive line, they're average. That's what we said this year. And if this Broncos team was going to be great, the Broncos offensive line probably needed to be great as well. And that's not the case. But the offensive line is not as bad. And we said this in pass blocking all season. The pass blocking's okay. It was the run blocking early on that was just getting housed. And I think they've actually started to get a little bit better in that front somewhat. Maybe that's partially the running backs getting better as well. But I don't think the offensive line is detrimental. But if you're talking about long-term building block, it's something that I think you should probably continue to build up on.
Well, and Teddy is absolutely zero threat to run the ball.
Yeah.
So when he's buying time, he's not going to take off and pick up yardage when he's threatening. And like I said, he's playing timid. I called out a play before when we talked yesterday morning. There was a play before, and we mentioned earlier that I forgot who it was. It was it Barnett that hit him, got that personal foul. I'm like, did he scramble his eggs on that play or something? Because, that would have gotten you ejected in college for that play, for a personal foul, roughing the passer, crown of the helmet, right under the chin. A couple plays later, Teddy's rolling left and tries to throw a ball behind Jerry Jeudy, who's leaking out into the flat when he probably could have tucked it and run for a touchdown. He didn't want to.
Nope.
That was a harbinger of things to come, if that's the right word. I only usually type it. I don't know if I've ever used it in actual spoken word. But then he goes, then we don't have to rehash the fumble play, but it was the same thing. He doesn't want to put his head in there.
Yep.
And if you don't want to put your head in there, you don't need to be out there. Yep. So that's the way it is. It's like, oh, well, he's gotten hurt or players, then you don't need to be out there.
Yeah.
It's a tough game. It's the risk. If you're afraid of the risk, then, or you don't want to take a risk, then, we could use this about other examples too, but stay home. Then stay home. Be a good mentor to another quarterback, and certainly appreciate the stars, Shane. And I missed this one just a few minutes ago. So coming back up to get Lawrence, who came in with the stars. So this is George Payton's team, and he's not going to have it. Between Vic backing him and Payton backing Vic, they're going to play this out. Drew pushed on Vic for too long. Go ahead, Nick.
Yeah, there's some information floating out there right now and regarding Drew Lock that it's just maturity and decision making stuff that it's like, man, come on. So I think that there's reason that Vic, with his job on the line and whatnot, does not trust Drew Lock to be put out there. So if Vic's going to go down swinging and this team is still very much in it, they're going to go with Teddy Bridgewater because he trusts him more. So I think it's really as simple as that. If the Broncos come out and Teddy Bridgewater is, again, I don't think he was terrible in this game. The Eagles efficiency'd the hell out of the Broncos, and boom, 4 possessions, you're down 20 points or something. That's not winning football, and that's not winning football for Teddy Bridgewater. You have to have Aaron Rodgers back there to be able to win games like that when your defense is getting as thoroughly beat as that. Now, they had a chance because the Broncos, I think, didn't They were stubborn with the run game, and the ground game was effective the whole game. And Teddy did not turn the ball over, which, a backbreaking pick in the second quarter, that's game. That you're done there. And that didn't happen. So they had a chance, and they were down only one possession. And then, the fumble and every chaos pursues. Somebody start the Benny Hill music. But I think that there is reason that they don't trust Drew Lock out there. And some of it, looking into this, I think it's doubling down not only on Teddy Bridgewater, but the defense. I think Vic still thinks that he can if I can just get this defense right, how the offense is playing right now can win us football games. And that's true. It's just right now the defense is not good. They're just simply not good.
A couple of things I want you to consider when talking about, okay, there's things leaking out is one, who's doing the leaking. Okay. People trying to cover their asses.
Yeah.
Okay. So who's doing the leaking about why we're not playing Drew Lock? It's the people that have made the decisions not to play Drew Lock.
Yeah.
Okay. And they've got reasons to
disparage
CYA.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying it's not true. I'm just saying consider the sources. Mm-hmm. Consider the sources and where it's coming from. It's coming from those people that have already made those decisions. Now, I'm not advocating for Drew Lock. So don't get me wrong on this. I just want you to take different things. Drew Lock hasn't shown to be anything other than a below average quarterback in his time in the league. I get that.
Yeah.
But again, after what Teddy did, I bench him flat out. I bench him. And there's more to it than what I said about remember who's doing the leaking. There's more to it than just I trust this guy more. You can tell from the things that Fangio says, the things that he's done. So says and actions, body language, all of it. He flat out doesn't like Drew Lock. Period. No. Doesn't like him. So why is he still here? Because Fangio says, because Peyton says, because Drew Lock's got another year in a contract and you're gone next year.
Yeah.
That's the best explanation. Drew Lock's going to be here longer than Fangio. That's why.
Yep. And the way that Vic Fangio wants to play football, he thinks that Teddy Bridgewater is not going to lose you the game. Somebody said in the comments, Teddy's not going to win you the game, but he's also probably not going to lose you the game. And that means he's not going to push the issue. He's not going to put up as many risky throws out there. And if people want to, if we want to judge quarterback tackles for the rest of the season, put in Drew Lock. We'll get way more quarterback tackle attempts. But it's, 5 games left. I think this is full on. You're betting on not only Teddy, but it's betting on the defense as well. Because right now the defense has been the biggest issue out there for me. I mean, I know it's a quarterback league. And we knew coming into the year that once they didn't get Aaron Rodgers, once they passed on Mac Jones / Justin Fields, the formula was going to be great run game, a quarterback that's protecting the football, great defense. Defense has not even come close to expectations this year. I'm excited to see what DVOA has to say tomorrow when they use the schedule adjusted ranking for the defense, because they were 22nd last week. They're going to be lower than that. They're probably going to be closer to bottom 5 defense in the league in DVOA this year versus that of a top 10 unit, which we expected.
Yvonne coming in says, why has the defense not been good? System, injuries, personnel?
All of the above. It's all of the above. The defense, you've had injuries at the linebacker core, which, I mean, we said it coming into the game last week that the Eagles are really going to put your linebackers in a flux because of how much they like to do with the quarterback power run game, and they limit the box numbers. So you have to make a decision to play you cover one and get stressed vertically if you want to stop the run. And the Broncos did, and they still got punched in the mouth on the ground game, which is very unfortunate. But I think that's an issue. I think it's personnel as well. With losing Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, you can call those injuries, but the guys behind them were not good enough. There's a reason the Broncos were looking to trade up for a Phillips, for a potentially a Odafe Owe. They knew that they needed more edge rushing talent and size there. They don't have it. The interior defensive line has been only okay, and Shelby Harris did not have a good game. He was big on that interception attempt. I do want to say he had pressure that was in Jalen Hurts' face that caused that terrible pass that Justin Simmons picked off. But other than that, didn't see much from them. And I think the secondary has been massively disappointing considering the resources you poured into them. Darby has been fine, but not a cornerback that's, a cornerback 1B that you're expecting. And Kyle Fuller, I guess good for him for going out there and not giving up on the season now that he's in a new role and having been benched. But he's getting beat on drags and slants and whatnot. So I think it's everything. I really do think it's just it's a combination of everything. And also, I think this really goes to shows. And for any of you preseason bettors out there, there's only one thing that I would bet on, and that's quarterback and head coach, right? Like we said before the season, Broncos are going to have the best defense in the league. Washington football team's going to have the best defense in the league. Those defenses have been bad. They've been legitimately bad. So defense is just, it's really finicky. It's hard to know who's going to be great until you actually have gathered a sample size because they're not played on paper. I do trust great quarterbacks on paper, though.
Well, and let's look at the paper. Okay, you mentioned it a little bit, but I just want to reiterate the point on the injuries.
Yeah.
The front three, Shelby Harris and Draymond Jones, are supposed to be plus players. I don't think they have been this year.
No,
nose guard, Purcell,
below average.
Okay,
yeah, below average.
There's your front three. The four linebackers. Who are you supposed to start with? Von Miller, Bradley Chubb, Anthony AJ Johnson, and
Josie Jewell,
right? Now the first two on the outside are gone. The two, and now you're probably on your fifth and sixth guys in the middle. So your entire spine of the middle of your defense, your linebacker core, especially against a team like Nick just said, which was a good point, that is going to run the ball, run option, and all that kind of stuff. You need your linebackers to have the best game of their. They have to be the plus players, the linebackers, and you're going out there with guys you pulled off practice squads that are getting hurt. I mean, so the injuries, you can't downplay the injuries, and like you said, because you get big money free agents on paper doesn't mean they're going to mesh right away.
Mm-hmm.
So there's some of that comes in where, I'm playing Madden and I plug this guy in who's a 90. He's a 90 right away. It doesn't work like that in real life. And Kyle Fuller's been disappointing. Ronald Darby's been hurt. Surtain's been a plus type of guy. Simmons got off to a slow start. Ojemudia has been hurt. There's been a lot of reasons to come in. So there was a lot of players in flux, and there's been a lot of players out.
Yep, it's tough, and that's made this team not function as they're supposed to. And I was actually talking with Tim Jenkins the other day. Shout out to him because his one of the quarterbacks he coaches in the offseason is now the starting quarterback for the Iowa Hawkeyes. So that's a lot of fun to talk to him about that. But he thought Teddy had a B-level game. He's not pushing the ball, but the Eagles pretty much said, like, we're going to give you everything underneath all day. If you throw it deep, you're an idiot. And that's a really good strategy if your offense is scoring points every single drive, which the Eagles essentially were doing. So now if there are quarterbacks who can hit those the spot in between the cornerback and the safety on the outside hash marks, Teddy's not hitting that throw very often because he doesn't have the arm talent. And that's one of the biggest detriments of him coming into the season. We knew that. But the Eagles are playing two safety shell and off coverage. You have space underneath. That's what Teddy's going to take, even especially if the game is in close, which it was for almost the entire game until that fumble recovery happened. So, I mean, that's just they're executing what the defense is giving them. And that's what a good, can't go broke taking a profit. But at some point, you need your quarterback to make a play. And those really show themselves on third down and in the red zone. 1 for 11 on third down attempts, 0 for 4 on fourth downs. Although I think they should give them a 1 for 2. Excuse me, I say 0 for 4 on fourth down, 0 for 2 on fourth downs. Should have been 1 for 2 because Gordon converted it and then fumbled it, but whatever. And then 1 for 5 for red zone touchdown attempts. That's are quarterback numbers.
A turnover. It shouldn't be 2 turnovers. An 0 for 2 makes it sound like 2 turnovers, and then a fumble was a third turnover.
Yep.
And again, when you talk about the 1 for 11 on third down, what's the average distance on that?
I think it was 8.
Why are you always 3rd and 10, 3rd and 11, 3rd and 9? That's the problem. I mean, the league converts 3rd and 11 at about 10%, so you're in league average, but they're converting third downs 3 or 4 times higher than the Broncos because their average is about 3rd and 5. So the problem becomes, why are you always 3rd and long? That's how you fix third down problems, is do better on 1st and 2nd.
Attrition, right? That's a big one there for that. But right now, with how this team is set up, Teddy is not good enough to win them games. And that's the unfortunate reality of it. You were hoping to have better defense that defines you, right? And that's been far from the case. This defense has been closer to bottom 10 than they have been top 10. And when the game is on Teddy to drop back, play 5-step drop, he's simply just not good enough. He's not that quarterback. And if you're asking him to be, you're probably going to lose. It's really that simple.
Like I said, you got 6th round and somebody else paying the bills.
Yep. Yeah, that's a great point too.
What were you expecting? I actually think he's been exactly what we thought we were, which for most fans is like, he's average across the board, across all the metrics. If you watch all the teams, good games, bad games, he's been average. I don't think Broncos fans realize just how bad quarterback play is across the league.
Yeah.
But Teddy's been average. He's not going to be below 15 or 16 in any metric across everybody else who's playing these games and having other bad games too. It's what you're expecting. You got him for nothing. But the problem is like, we don't want average. We want the hope of we're going to get plus. And Teddy does not represent that hope. And when you've lost hope, that's the worst feeling there is. I mean, go back to Greek mythology, Pandora's box. There was one of the fates that did not escape. It was hope. Because if humanity lost hope, then humanity was doomed. That's the feeling you have as the Denver Broncos fans with Teddy. It's like, this isn't going to get any better. And that's a bad feeling. I get it.
Yeah, and I do, just for the last, little bit before we get on out of here pretty soon, I do want to look at the positives here for the Broncos' perspective at the quarterback position and just this team in general. As we've seen this season, it has been very much a week-to-week league. Anybody can beat anybody any given week, any given Sunday, as they say, but that's really true this season. So the Broncos have 7 games left. And if they get hot, if the ball bounces their way a couple times, if they can get healthy, I mean, maybe getting a Bradley Chubb back, or maybe, the linebackers getting healthy and out there on the field, then you have a chance to win some games and go on a run. I don't think anybody in the AFC West right now is going on or showing that they are a dominant force. Everybody has multiple fatal flaws. You make the point, which I agree with you, that, if they are not buying into their head coach, if they don't like their head coach, then, they're going through the motions, not really putting in that extra work or paying extra attention during the meeting, which all that adds up, death by inches, as Vic would like to say. But we're still in the thick of things, right? And maybe a bye week is exactly what they need. And with how high we were against Dallas and how low we are against the Eagles,
another great win. There, we can get another press conference of Vic Fangio reading his resume and telling everybody how awesome he is.
Yep.
Love it.
Exactly. And that'll keep you right in it. He's
really not likable, is he?
He is such a grump, man. He needs a PR team out there. Even Patrick Smythe, who's as good of a public relationships person as there is in any profession. Forget professional football. Patrick Smythe, man, he's incredible. Can't get the Oscar the Grouch grime off of Vic Fangio out there living in his trash can. The other one that I want to say is, Teddy Bridgewater, Drew Lock, all of these, we said it coming into the season. This is a short-term option. And if the formula is great, the great defense, good run game, protecting the football, that can win 10 games, which is about what we expected. Formula's falling apart with the injuries, team falling apart. Okay, that's life. The Broncos are not paying $15 million a year to Sam Darnold next year. The Broncos did not give up 4 first-round picks for trading up to get Zach Wilson, who looks really bad so far in a short sample size. While the Broncos don't have their quarterback solution fixed, they still have 5 top 100 picks, the second most cap room in football next year, and a lot of flexibility. So while it is not good this season, while they don't have their answer this season, they aren't committed to the wrong answer for 3-4 seasons without an option to improve, because they're in position where they're flexible and they have the assets to be aggressive and upgrade the position, which is big. So not every team has that.
Unfortunately, again, it's what we talked about in the summer. Predicting these type of things is and why Broncos fans are unhappy, because if Teddy Bridgewater wins this job, it means you've got a holdover for 2 years while you get your guy for 2023. And I don't mean in 2023. You got to try and get your guy, unless it's a veteran. Yeah. But I don't know that you can go out. Plus veterans, they're even more expensive than the rookies. So trying to go out and get Russell Wilson or Aaron Rodgers or someone like that is going to be more expensive than I think George Payton is willing to spend.
Yeah.
So you got to go get a rookie. You got to go get in the draft, and it's going to take a year for him to develop to a place where you feel comfortable, where you can make a playoff run, which is 2023. But it's going to be a lot of fun because there's a lot of resources for guys like us who enjoy the process of building the Broncos. Plug for tonight, building the Broncos tonight at 6:00 Mountain Time. Because there is so much. There's so many good young players on this team. It's going to need a reset. It needs a reset. And Draymond Jones threw up we're resetting this flag on Sunday. I'm convinced.
Yeah, and also I think there's some Teddy Bridgewater talk there as far as, hey, what they're asking us to do right now, Mike Purcell 1 gapping, me 1.5 gapping, and Shelby Harris 2 gapping. Like, what the hell are we doing? This is costing me money. I'm about to be a free agent in a year and a half now. What I'm being asked to do right now is costing me money. So that's also another factor to think about here, right? It's a team, but these are individual players that are looking to set up their families and themselves to be good long-term. So We'll see. And I see the chat saying, Nick, you're thinking of Lance. I'm thinking if the Broncos loved Wilson so much that they had to get up to 2 to go get him, they would have cost themselves 3 or 4 first-round picks. And with how we don't know about Lance yet, Lance is 2 years younger than Mac Jones, 1 year younger than the other quarterbacks. Zach Wilson's looked really bad, worse than any of them.
And the rookie quarterbacks are all in the bottom 5 of the league.
Besides Mac
may have
Jones.
come up some, but I bet he's still 25 over the course of the year. The rookie quarterbacks, you know, Bill Belichick, you know, let's see what the Patriots do. They're 6-4. I think they're 6-4. They've won 4 in a row. Should become 7-4 this week on Thursday night. You know, can you plug in a guy like that if you build enough? It's kind of what Teddy was supposed to be. You know, that's what Teddy was supposed to be, is what Mac Jones is playing at right now, which is just manage the game for us. Manage the game for us. We've got enough of a system around, enough talent around, because we spent $1 billion in free agency that came in and they're playing well. We've got a system that's been here for 15 years that the winning system and structure will be enough to carry through a rookie quarterback. This isn't really a controversial statement. Vic Fangio is not Bill Belichick.
Yeah, nope. Yeah, that's very true. And the Patriots offensive line is playing great football right now, and Mac Jones is just playing pivot. And that's a strategy that can work for the Broncos. The Patriots sat there at 15. They didn't give up any extra resources. Mac Jones fell to them, and now they have a cost-controlled quarterback for 5 years, spending a lot of money around the quarterback position. That can work. Obviously, that can work. Vic Fangio is not Bill Belichick, but that can work. Oh, man, I went down some Bill Belichick rabbit hole stuff yesterday. Did you see Texas is down so bad right now, it's kind of laughable. But did you see the press conference yesterday with Steve Sarkisian where that reporter
I saw the cringe moments, that kind of like comedy makes me feel so uncomfortable that I can't watch it.
Okay.
So I saw it come across my timeline, and it said something like, we once had a problem, we couldn't solve it. I'm like, I can't do it. I hit the back button. I'm like, the comedy like that, you know, one reason I don't like The Office. You know, I get The Office, but you know, seeing how uncomfortable Michael can make everybody feel makes me feel uncomfortable. Yep. And I don't enjoy that. So I had to click away from it.
Yep. No, that's I just made me think of Bill Belichick and what he would have responded, because he is hilarious in those interviews. We got DWI guys coming in with $25, getting in before we were getting on out of here, asking, Fangio chose Teddy two-step supposedly because he wouldn't lose them games because the defense would keep them in games. Well, when the defense is not up to snuff, what now, Fangio? Yeah, I mean, this is essentially my sentiment as well. This sounds like to me Fangio is betting on the bye week and everything and down the stretch that he can get the defense whipped into shape and start playing at a better level than we saw versus the Eagles. Also, a point that Scott made yesterday, I believe, you're not going to play another team this season that is as good on the offensive and defensive trenches as the Eagles were, unless you get in the playoffs. Then maybe that'll happen. But really, I mean, the Chargers, their defensive line outside of Joey Bosa has been disappointing. Their offensive line is okay. Chiefs offensive line and defensive line. Chris Jones is amazing. Love you, Chris Jones. One of my favorites players. But both sides of the ball, not that good. The Lions are terrible on both sides of the ball. The Bengals right now are running like an air raid. You know, Joe Burrow, Chase Young, throw it up. They're not winning. I mean, you can run power on the Bengals like nothing. That's how they've been getting killed this season.
Not Chase Young, Jamar Chase.
Jamar Chase, excuse me. Yep. Another early pick. Chase Young, man, sucks about the knee. Hopefully the defense will figure it out, and hopefully we're talking about a win after that, but we got a little bit of time to stew on that loss. Appreciate you guys. I know that the talk of the quarterback conversation is rough, but I think you're talking about two different maps. It's like Google Maps comes up here, and you have, fuel efficient route that's, 14 minutes versus the 11-minute route that's less fuel efficient. You're heading to the same destination, Teddy versus Drew. You're looking for a new quarterback this offseason anyway, because neither guy is the one that's going to be a long-term option. Just, it's the reality.
Yvonne coming back in saying, with a new coach, can we still make Locke work next season, or is he done in Denver? I think he could be, with 1 year. I think if you go and draft a guy, he ends up being the stopgap, the type of guy where, the trajectory of his career would be, let's bring in a veteran while we get our guy ready.
Yep.
Unless he comes in, Jordan Love was drafted to take Aaron Rodgers' place, right? Mm-hmm. Well, he's playing. If he comes in, I don't think his time is necessarily done in Denver, because he's going to get a fresh start, and there's not going to be an incumbent come in. If somebody comes in as a new coach, they bring their own guy, then yeah, his time's done in Denver. But I think Drew Lock can get a fresh start with a new coach, clean slate, 1-year deal. Unless they go out and spend big money or bring in somebody else, I think he can. I think he can get a fresh start and get a chance to see, is this guy good enough or not? Now, the question then becomes is, he wouldn't have an option to pick up, right? Does he
No.
play his way into a big money contract? What does he end up costing you? Or do you deal him in the offseason and really get a fresh start? But I don't think his time is completely over in Denver. I don't think it's a done deal yet. I think Vic Fangio's time is over in Denver.
I think both of them are done. But that's just knowing people in the NFL community and what they have to say about both those guys. Don't want to go too far down it, but appreciate you, guy. We need a gunslinger at quarterback. Let's get top 10 quarterback and then let's put it to rest, right? If not, we're going to be wandering the desert for a bit, right? That's the thing about having a top 10 quarterback. There's 22 other teams that don't have a guy, but you got to keep looking. So we appreciate you guys. Thank you very much for coming in. We will be live on Scott's channel tomorrow at 7 o'clock my time, so 8 o'clock your guys' time, to talk a little bit of, oh man, Falcons Cowboys. I'm gonna have to watch that game, Scott. That's I'm glad I get to watch it after the fact. But I think you're probably still riding high from that Braves World Series victory, right? Like this is all
like
just
I said,
icing.
my expectations after I watched Philadelphia decimate the Atlanta Falcons was 2-15.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Again, what do you expect? I've asked that question to Broncos fans before. You've got three brand new offensive linemen coming in that were backups for a reason. What do you expect?
Yeah.
Do you expect to go on and just run it down their throats? You got 4 linebackers. You're starting 4 linebackers, 2 more replacements gone. You're going against a guy that runs a lot of read option. What do you expect? I expect my quarterback not to give up on a play. That's what I expect. And that's why I'm pissed. I get that. But the Eagles, that was a bad matchup for the Broncos. And I picked the Eagles. And that was why. Now, can you rebound from this, or is this team cooked? I'm in the right now, it's cooked category, because I've seen the body language on the field. I hear them when they start talking in the press conferences. Good Lord. It doesn't get much clearer than that. So we will see. Got a week to stew on it.
Yeah, we'll really find out a lot about these guys, how they don't have to win games, right? But if they show up or not, writing on the wall then. But thank you guys for joining us today. You can follow Scott and myself on Twitter. Scott is at Scout Kennedy, and I'm at Nick Kendell, MHH. Also follow us at Huddle Up Pod and at Mile High Huddle. Folks, if you're on Facebook, make sure you're joining us at facebook.com/Mile High Huddle and facebook.com/Mile High Huddle Pod. With the holidays right around the corner, make sure you guys are going to huddleuppod.com to get your swag on. Make sure you get your favorite Bronco fans out there, the Mile High Huddle gear. Obviously, I am pretty biased towards the Broncos for Breakfast hat, building the Broncos hat, and the Mile High Insiders. But we got shirts. We got the coffee mugs as well every single morning, fresh out of the dishwasher this morning, so it doesn't have that yummy grind in it. Make sure you guys are joining us also on YouTube by subscribing, liking, and sharing. Head on over to iTunes, leave us a 5-star rating and a review. I see a lot of rating and reviews in there naming Chad and Zach by name. I want to see my name in there. I got it on the coffee mug already, but now I need to see it, Scott and myself, in the iTunes comments there. So make sure you guys are going over there as well. Go to Scott's YouTube channel. Like I said, we're going to be talking there tomorrow at youtube.com/Scott Kennedy. Scott, what's the rest of the day looking like for you? You got anything fun? Any reviews? Maybe some draft stuff starting to get coming down the tracks?
Just gotta just the grind. Like I said, I've been posting a lot of the press conference clips, so you don't have to watch 30 minutes of them or all that onto the Mile High Huddle channel. So I'm going to try and drop 3 of those today. Most of the folks in here already know those things because you are. I like to say we are the lunatic fringe of fan bases, and we're the lead lunatics. So we get it. So we'll be working on that, doing some coverage. And then Tuesday, I think that means US Jamaica. So we've got some World Cup qualifiers this afternoon, which will help kill some time on a lonely Tuesday with no football.
Yeah. And Charles Pinster, Iowa Hawkeye resident in here, asking for Iowa, Illinois prediction. Really, honestly, this is going to be a physical game. Illinois has Brett Bielema now as their head coach. They love to run with not only 6 offensive linemen in some sets, but 7 offensive linemen in some sets as well. Luckily for Iowa, they saw a team that whipped them in the trenches this last week in Minnesota, and they still ended up winning the football game. So Hopefully Iowa can adjust to what Illinois is going to want to do. I'm expecting it to be low scoring though, and hopefully the Broncos can get the Hawkeyes can get some more explosive pass plays. But we'll see you guys tomorrow on Scott's channel. I'll see you guys tonight on Building the Broncos.
I'll be there too. I'll be behind the
Scott will be there.
scenes.
Exactly. Carl and I with Scott behind the scenes. We'll see you guys then. Everyone stay safe, be kind, and go Broncos.